So this chapter starts off with us seeing the two new boss characters that I'm really interested in, Ryu and Takako. And I'll get into them, of course. But they're both reacting to Drew's Shikigami disappearing after Okotsu had slain him in the previous chapter. And when I saw this mole rat thing, whatever it is, it reminded me of the Shikigami that we saw in chapter 160 when Kenjaku was escorting Sasaki outside of the barrier. And we saw Ruve's giant mole rat Shikigami thing here. I guess seemingly fighting another person who has some kind of pterodactyl curse technique. I'm sure this is going to come back later on. Maybe we've already seen this. I don't know. Maybe one of you experts in the comments already know everything that's going on already. But we actually also see his other mole rat Shikigami in the background there, because that was explained in Drew's exposition. It said he has two types of independent Shikigami, and their orbiting trajectories constitute their own domain. And I guess it's later confirmed by Okotsu in this chapter that he had used his domain, I guess, to lay claim to the stadium that he is protecting. But another thing about this big mole rat Shikigami going down, apparently that was the condition that needed to disappear so that Kurorushi, the cockroach curse spirit guy, would come out of laying dormant, because that's what it said in the previous chapter. And I thought that this was going to happen much later than just the follow-up chapter. I mean, it did say, instead of forming an alliance, these four, as a result of their conflicting abilities and complex natures, found themselves in a standoff. And I guess it turns out that Drew, who is like oddly an important posthumous character, he would have been particularly a nasty opponent for Kuroishi, who appears to have some kind of cockroach curse technique. But anyway, Rockabilly Ryu here asks the Kogane to show the players who points have changed within the last minute in Sendai Colony. Very smart, of course. And with this information, he finds out that it was Okotsu who had to have killed Drew. And another thing that was mentioned about Ryu in the previous chapter is that it claims, at least, that he has the highest cursed energy output of all of the players. And I don't remember what I said in the previous chapter, but I know I brought up Okotsu because whenever you hear like cursed energy or cursed energy output, he comes into the discussion because he's always in that realm of things, right? Well, it turns out that Gege was also thinking that, because in the following chapter here, Ryu is specifically singling out Okotsu because he's interested in him, and after he sees Okotsu do a pretty impressive cursed energy slash, or whatever exactly he's doing here, I'm assuming he's just releasing cursed energy from the swipe of his sword, because that's kind of like the fundamentals that Gojo taught him. Ryu's not really impressed by that. He's like, his output isn't all that. What's surprising is his overall cursed energy. It's bottomless. And we've heard superlatives like that used all the time regarding Okotsu's cursed energy. So while Ryu doesn't have bottomless cursed energy like Okotsu does, because I'm not really sure if that's unique to him, but it's pretty much like his brand at this point. He still has a higher cursed energy output than Okotsu. So meaning that what Okotsu is doing in this chapter is obviously super impressive. Ryu is on another level than even that. Of course, we have no idea what this guy's curse technique is yet, but since he's being built up as one of like the four bosses of Sendai, I guess, I'm sure he is a beast. And since it said he has the highest output of all the players, it wasn't specifically said Sendai, I'm assuming he's got to be one of the strongest characters in the series at this point, especially since he's like kind of lukewarm on Okotsu after witnessing what he's capable of. But anyway, we're coming back to Okotsu and we see him like saving the people that were trapped in the stadium because of Drew, and I'm guessing this is like Gege's save the cat moment for Okotsu. I don't know, maybe sometimes you really have to illustrate that, like, it's okay if a good guy kills people. Not everybody has to be like a Tanjiro or a Deku to be considered a good guy. But just as he's about to lead all of them out of this place, they have to go back in again because the cockroach curse spirit. And he quickly devours what appears to be one of my subscribers here. And this is pleasantly violent, I must say. I'm glad that we're getting some civilian casualties here. I mean, that's nothing new to Jujutsu Kaisen, but it's always nice that Gege kind of, reassures the audience that the stakes are not low. But going back to the whole cockroach control thing, Okotsu says, are these cockroaches real? Each one has cursed energy and they're reinforced. A single one is no problem, but a swarm poses a serious threat, obviously. But what I think he's saying here is that these aren't like created by like his cursed energy or something. Like it more so seems like these are like real cockroaches that exist in the world, and Kurorushi can just control them. Again, maybe I'm wrong, okay? But Rika comes back out, still not getting an explanation on what's going on with Rika exactly. It seems like Gege is really waiting to give us the reveal or the explanation on exactly what's going on with their new relationship. Also, I'm pretty sure this is going to ultimately lead to Okotsu's downfall. That's another story for another time. But of course, Rika and Okotsu, with a little group effort here, are able to take out the initial swarm of cockroaches, and we see that sequence with the cursed energy slash thing. And then we're getting some exposition on Kurorushi, and it says he has an endless appetite and eating stimulates parthenogenesis. So I know all of you experts out there already know what that is, but I'm just going to say this for like the 1% of you watching this that actually don't know what that is, because I didn't. But it's a spontaneous development of an embryo from an unfertilized egg cell. So I mean, I guess that's literally what's going to happen with this guy. He's going to, I don't know, give birth or something. I don't know if he needs to be fertilized, if you know what I mean. But I'm assuming Gege is going to skip that step, and I don't know, Kotsu's boss fight here is going to lead to him thinking that he defeated him, and then I guess like a new, more powerful version like comes out of him or something. Or maybe it's like his offspring and it's like superior to him possibly. Or maybe that's Kenjaku's ultimate plan here with this guy, why he released him. Then we're coming to Okotsu's internal monologue here, which is very pragmatic, and I appreciate it, where he's saying that there's probably more players like Kurorushi in the other colonies, which is probably true since Kenjaku had many cursed spirits in his control. And then he realizes that communication between the colonies is also necessary, and it is. And he's like, in addition to the 2 rules that Fushiguro proposed, we need a means of communication and a way to travel in and out of colonies. That's a total of at least 4 rules to get the situation under control. So those are the next 2 rules that we have to look forward to. I'm assuming at the end of Okotsu's, first boss battle here, after he inevitably takes out Kurorushi, he will get 100 points somehow, and then he'll be able to make one of these rules, I'm guessing. I'm assuming he's going to do the communication one, since that's kind of more important at the moment rather than traveling in and out of the colonies. I'm thinking that that can just, wait till afterwards. But I'm really looking forward to them being able to communicate with each other. Although, it does raise the stakes with them not being able to. And he's even thinking about Gojo in this instance. He's like, Sensei, I won't let you kill your best friend a second time. I will kill Kenjaku, and by myself, I will obtain 400 points. But I think this is more so Gege trying to just establish that Okotsu does have motivation like the other characters. He does want to take down Kenjaku, and he does want to help Gojo and everyone. He's just not as personally tied to all of that stuff as much as like Megumi and Yuji, So I think this was kind of put out there to just establish that like, hey, he wants to do this too, guys. But I just don't see him ultimately succeeding in that. I mean, I hope he does. Hey, it would be cool if he kills Kenjaku, but it just doesn't seem likely. Unless Yuji is the one that like fully defeats him, and then Okotsu comes up and just takes his head off so that Yuji doesn't have to. But then the chapter ends with us seeing Kurorushi pull out like a cursed object called the Festering Life Sword, and we're getting some ambiguous exposition on it, an enchanted blade that mixes life and death. Again, I'm sure some of you already know what that means. Let me know in the comments, but if you like the video, guys, subscribe, I guess. I don't know. Do whatever you want. Have a good day.